When we're talking about these four, what kind of struggles, but also what kind of advantages do people with these characteristics have?
From what I've seen throughout my career, creativity. I think if you think differently from the majority, you're going to be creative. And I often think anybody that's done anything astonishing throughout history was probably neurodiverse in some way. So creativity, problem solving. A lot of autistic people, dyslexic people have what's sort of more commonly known around the pattern recognition ability. Obviously, everybody's different. But then I've seen for some people with ADHD and dyspraxia, they have, to use a phrase, more thinking on your feet type of problem solving. So by thinking on your feet, I mean, like something comes in right now, we just find a way around it. So, for instance, I said I relate to ADHD. I really struggle to like write neatly on a board, and that could be connected to dyspraxia. This is why I like neurodiversity. But I was doing a session once in my job, and we ran contracts for the job centre through the National Autistic Society to get autistic people jobs. So they'd come in and assess us and how we were doing. And one day I was doing a workshop and I was like, oh God, I'm being assessed. I'm going to have to write on the board and stuff like that. So what I did was I said to the participants, we did how many types of communication are there? That was the session. You'd be surprised. There's like probably more than 50. And you'd come up with one and I'd say, all right, you've said communication is talking. You come and write that on the board. And then they said to me, when I got assessed, the job centre person was like, that was so inclusive, how you got everyone involved and up and about. And for me, that's what I mean by thinking on your feet type problem solving.
Yeah.
I'd be awful at that pattern recognition. I don't know if you remember it at school and stuff. Sometimes boxes coloured in and then the next box coloured in. And it'd be like, what's the next box? I can't do that. But that sort of thinking, on your feet when something happens. And I think we need people like that in the workplace, don't we? So that's why we celebrate it.
So was that example about ADHD specifically?
Well, this is what I don't know, because I don't know. I don't have a diagnosis for anything, but like say in year 9 at school, I got sent for the dyslexia assessment again in sixth form, getting in the workplace. I've been through one. It's like, I think it's ADHD, and I think it's just a struggle to write neatly. Can also cross over with dyspraxia. The spelling difficulty for me is just around that, maybe working memory and sequencing, putting words there and having people in front and doing more than one thing at once, listening to people shout out different types of communication and writing them down. Yeah, so it's just, I suppose a lot of people that are neurodiverse in some way probably feel under pressure at times in the workplace or in education, maybe panicked or maybe a bit different.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah.
And then under the terms dyslexia, dyspraxia, how do we define those? And what are those like struggles and advantages of those different characteristics?
Yeah, so with this, what I always like to think about is like the characteristics, and there is the diagnosis. For dyslexia, I suppose what people commonly expect is the difficulty of reading and writing. But I talk about that with dyslexia as just the tip of the iceberg. Like that's what identifies it, but actually there's more to it behind it. And the other characteristics can be problem solving, good with people, quite creative, stuff like that. A lot of dyslexic people quite visual. I used to work with a lot of physiotherapists who had dyslexia, and actually it really suited them because when you're working with the human body, you've got to think in that sort of 3D way and stuff. Yeah, it's quite fascinating to think about it from that positive point of view, isn't it?